Hello guys, yes, how are we doing? Welcome to SpursRelated. I hope you're doing very well on this Queen's Jubilee golden weekend. It's not golden, is it, Jack? I'm not sure what it is, but listen,
Diamond?
we are
I
here.
think it's diamond.
Diamond. But
Oh.
listen, guys, we're here talking about Spurs. That is what matters this weekend for us anyway. I'm sure you guys are all looking at all of the links, all of the tier one sources and rumors on our socials, and it will be an absolute pleasure to get into things with none other than Mr. Jack Burford. Jack, how you doing, mate?
Oh, I'm brilliant. Looking forward to chatting all things Spurs as always. And yeah, let's get into it.
Absolutely love it. All things Spurs, all things Bastoni today, all things Kim Min Jae has a new one for us. All things Guardiola and of
Lenglet.
course Lenglet. But the one that will be talked about first is Steven Bergwijn. It is in the title of the video. Steven Bergwijn today has come out and been said by Fabrizio Romano, obviously a very good tier one source of ours, that Steven Bergwijn is probably going to be leaving to Ajax. I'm going to leave Jack to give the full rundown of that. But before I do so, and before we get into the Steven Bergwijn rumors, or say rumors, news, let's get into the chat, the Spurs Relatables. There's already 20 of you across all socials. Absolutely love the sport. Please do smash a thumbs up button if you do want more transfer videos throughout the summer and content from us. But guys, as always, Ian Army is in here saying, hope Emerson is safe. Just seen some reports he was involved in an armed robbery. Wow. Jack, have you seen about this?
Yes, I have seen that. Terrible news. I think he put on his Instagram that he's going to talk about it more later, but there was news yesterday. I think it was even held at gunpoint. I'm not 100% sure, but it's not good news on that. But hopefully he's all okay and his family's okay. But I don't like to talk too much on the topic when we don't know too much. But yeah. I hope Emerson's okay, and I'm sure we'll cover it later on.
Yeah, well said, Jack. Well said indeed. He's also saying, I'm currently moving houses, so I don't have Wi-Fi available. Maybe it's a few streams I want to see. We would completely understand. Hope the move goes well, more importantly, and we'll catch up to you when you settled into your new place. Kim Min Jae, the GOAT's being linked with us. Absolutely love it. I need to know more about this guy. I'm hoping Jack's going to know more than me about this guy, because personally, I don't know a lot. Tempest Fujit, thanks for your comment the other day, mate. It's great to see you here on a live. Saying, looking forward to the official window to open. Great to see, mate. Great to see. Thanks for joining us. Leo Ball on Facebook, of course, saying Bergwijn could be valuable to us if he is used correctly. We'll get into the opinions on that and see what the chat as a whole thinks. Should he be sold or not? And, of course, Bobby K is in here saying, good morning, James, Jack, and everyone in the chat. Coys, big yourself up, Bobby K. Absolutely loved that video with you, Irish Hotspur, and Jack. It was an absolute great one. So, guys, if you haven't already, do get over to the 3 Spurs boys. There's 15 of you watching right now. Let's have at least 1 or 2 of you go over to the 3 Spurs boys. That's the number 3 Spurs boys. Go and check out Dave and Jack, obviously, as you all very well know from the Irish Hotspur on there. All about their life kind of outside of Tottenham and how they got into Tottenham, where they live, sort of what they like to do, how their family is. Go and check it out. It's a great video. But he's also saying Kim Min Jae is tall, commanding, and an aerial threat. Basically, Eric Dyer with a higher ceiling, I think, will be a good leader. Jack, obviously, we'll get into the Kim Min Jae thing. I think it's an interesting one. I think it's a new link to Spurs. I'm not really seen this one before. But I know you want to get into the Steven Bergwijn news, the news that was kind of put out today by Fabrizio Romano. Did you want to just tell the chat about what the breakdown of this is and maybe clear up a few things?
Sure. So Fabrizio Romano today has reported that Bergwijn is in talks with Ajax, and Spurs, from numerous reports, have said we're holding out for about 25 million euros. They're currently bidding around 20 million euros. So there's a bit off on the valuation, but it does seem Steven Bergwijn is now keen to move on and progress in his footballing career. Me personally, I think I don't really know how I feel about it. I think Steven Bergwijn's a fantastic player. I still think he could succeed at Spurs, but maybe it is time to move on and hopefully he can progress at Ajax. I feel like it's a league suited to his play style, and I think he could absolutely tear it up there. Like we've seen with Sebastian Haller, has done fantastic at Ajax since he's moved from West Ham. And I don't think he's a player in the Premier League who's done as much as Steven Bergwijn. So Bergwijn is a player who he could play centrally. He can play on the wing. He's got pace. He's direct. He's technically brilliant. We've all seen that skill he done against Wolves earlier on in the season. He's shown flashes of brilliance, but he just hasn't had the consistency to nail down a starting spot. So maybe it is the right time to move on. Personally, I think if we get the money, we take it and we reinvest it in a player who's maybe proven and can add squad depth that's much needed, or even put it towards a player with a really high caliber. We're talking maybe Lautaro Martinez, maybe Darwin Núñez, or someone who we've seen in the Premier League like Sterling, if there's a potential there. But yes, maybe it is time to move on. What do you think, James?
Yeah, I think kind of echo what you're saying here, Jack. I mean, I think we've seen obviously 2 seasons of Steven Bergwijn. Came in, obviously started on the best foot possible on his debut against Manchester City. I'm sure you're probably at that game, Jack.
I was.
You know, the volley that went in from the edge of the box was absolute scenes. We went on to win that game, I believe, 2-0. And I mean, listen, you know, he hasn't hit the ground running, really. It kind of was hit the ground running and then stopped. Like, he didn't really progress. He didn't score many goals. I mean, I'm sure I could easily get up the stats and the goals and assists, but I mean, it's just a shame, really, because I do believe he is a good player. He does show amazing signs on international duty that he's an incredible player. Like, I think he's probably scored more for Holland this season than Spurs, and that's the shame of it. I mean, if you look at for the national team, he's scored. Yeah, there you go. He scored 4 goals for Netherlands this year and 3 for Spurs. I mean, that kind of says all you need to know here. Like, is he getting enough chance? Maybe not. Maybe he's being thrown on too late in games, 10, 20 minutes to go. The game's kind of over in terms of the result, maybe. But also at the same time, Jack, I believe that 25 appearances, 3 goals, 1 assist. And don't forget, 2 of them were in the stoppage time against Leicester. I just feel like he's not contributing enough. Also, 21 goals the season before with 1 goal, 3 assists. And then the season before that, where he kind of joined in January, 14 appearances, 3 goals, 1 assist. So essentially, he's scored 7 goals in 3 seasons for Spurs. I don't think that's enough. I don't think that justifies what we paid for him. I think he's been disappointed as to what we all think he could have provided. And I do think it's actually a fair thing for him to go and try and prove himself at another club, because, you know, it's a short career as a player. I feel like he should go and show his potential at another club, and probably Netherlands does suit him more at the end of the day. You know, we got him from PSV. He's going to go to Ajax, which is essentially one of PSV's rivals. He might get a bit of hate there, but listen, I think he'll do so well there. I mean, he had 14 goals for PSV in 33 games on one season, 8 in 32 on another. Like, he scored about a good 30 goals for PSV over 4, 5, 6 seasons. That is completely different to scoring 7 goals in 3 seasons in the Prem. He just didn't fit the Premier League. I don't feel like we can sit here and say he didn't get enough of a chance, because I honestly believe he did get enough. We saw enough of what he could give us. And I just don't think he fits Spurs or the Premier League very well. Do you think that's fair?
No, I totally see where you're coming from, James. I think he's had flashes of brilliance, but he just hasn't had that consistency to nail down a starting spot. And you've got to remember, he's had Son in his probably favourite position on the left-hand side. So let's be honest, that's his main position. And Son is different class. And then he kind of got moved to the right under Mourinho, and he did okay there, but he just didn't feel as comfortable, so he couldn't really shine. But now I think it's time for him to move on. For himself as a player, and for him to hit the heights that he potentially could, he definitely should move on to a team like Ajax. I think would suit him well. He's technically brilliant, which everyone knows is all the best players technically usually come through that Netherlands system. So he'll be good there. I think you've got, is it Van der Sar as the director? Or was there problems there? Something like that. But there's a good system there. There's not Ten Hag anymore, but he's going to have good players around him. He's probably going to get a lot more goals. And the Ajax fans, I'm sure, will appreciate him. And as much as us Spurs fans do like Steven Bergwijn, I even said to him, if you've been watching our vlogs, that I said to him, it wouldn't have been possible to get top 4 without you. You smashed out Spurs. But I do think that he maybe didn't gel as well with the players. Like, when I went to the Norwich game, he was standing outside on his suitcase, not with the rest of the players. He kind of seemed a bit not as included, didn't care as much. You could kind of sense the feeling that he weren't going to be here next year. He wasn't as excited as everyone else. Like Emerson Royale, a player who comes under scrutiny sometimes, he was absolutely buzzing. He was so glad to be part of this team and get top 4. But Bergwijn, being the good player he is, he wasn't as involved with the squad. He didn't feel that excitement. So I just feel like sometimes the importance of the good feeling within the squad, that good morale, is really important. And if he can't bring that to the table and work hard in, week out, then maybe it is time to bring in a younger player, an experienced player that wants to be part of this squad.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like you said, it didn't feel like he was fitting in the dressing room. Maybe a bit of an attitude problem there. And like you said, if he wasn't part of the group and wasn't part of this knit kind of tight cohesion that the players have that kind of got them to top four as part of the reason, because Conte really did gel those players, even the ones like Davies and Dyer. He kind of didn't. He didn't show that, and it's a massive, massive shame. But like you said, maybe it is for the best that he does. He does come through this and transfer. He's saying Bergwijn, Haller, and Anthony sounds amazing. Stephen will only improve with the regular game time, and you have to consider that he's gone through 4 managers. Yeah, absolutely.
I like that. Yeah, I like that, definitely. And I think Haller and Anthony are 2 strong players as well. I think Anthony's a player that I'd look at to sign for Spurs. I think he's technically brilliant. He scored a fantastic goal, I think, earlier on in the Champions League. I think he's left-footed. I could be wrong there, but I've just seen that goal. He's cutting on his left foot, posting in. He's Brazilian. He's got that flair. So that, as a front three, could be scary for Ajax. And they've done well in the Champions League this season, I think. Have I got that wrong?
Yeah.
They did quite well. I think Haller was the top goal scorer earlier on in the season in the Champions League. So it's a scary front three for them, and he'll only add to that, Bergwijn.
100%, Jack. Lil K's in here says, new subscriber. What took me so long? James, Dad said he'll beat me later.
Little K, get your friends over as well. Make sure everyone's subscribing. I think we're currently on 765. Let's push to 800. But in a couple of weeks, I want to be hitting that mark because we're going to be pushing on, and we'll get to that 1K subscribers soon.
Absolutely love it, Jack. Exactly that. And Little K, no worries. I'm glad you're here now anyway, mate. I'm glad you're here. But maybe some concluding thoughts on Bergwijn, guys. Just whack it in the chat. I'll put a little question on screen. But I think the best way to summarize this, Jack, I'm sure you agree, is are you happy Steven Bergwijn is leaving? I don't think actually that's the right question. I think the question more is probably, is this the right time for Bergwijn to move on? I feel like, that probably makes more sense. So let's whack that in the chat. Is this the right time for Steven Bergwijn to move on from Spurs? Jack, do you want to maybe conclude on that?
Sure. So I think it is. I think it is the right time for him to move on. 25 million euros. It's just under the price we paid for him. It's a good fee for a player that probably wants to move on. And feels like he could strive somewhere else. I think he's come to his end of his time at Spurs. I'm grateful for the moments he's given us. We all remember the Steven Bergwijn celebration, Stevie Wonder, as I think Martin Tyler says, when we beat Man City. He scored 2 goals that helped us, as I said to him, to get us Champions League this season. He's been a good player, but he just hasn't living up to that expectation we had from earlier on. But time to move on, bring in someone else and move on as a football club, because as we know, we can't constantly rely on hoping these players one day get better. We've got to be a bit more ruthless, like Chelsea, who, if they don't see a player working for them or doesn't fit in the squad, they get rid of them. And this is something we need to do as a club. We're a big club. We're playing in the biggest competition in European football. So let's be a bit more ruthless.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree. Like, you think of it, is he going to be playing in the Champions League games? Is he going to help us through that? I think we need to upgrade a little bit there. And like you said, he's not on kind of, well, you didn't say this, but he's not on Son's level, is he? He's not on Kane's level. No. He's kind of a player that's been left there within the realms after an era of Poch or Mourinho, I guess, who was the one that I believe was in charge when he came in. And then he's had Nuno, obviously Mason for a little bit. And then, like we said, obviously Conte, and it's kind of been a lot of a big change for him, and it's not quite worked. And it's a shame. I was a Bergwijn, fan when he came in, but I was honestly, I've been saying for a while that Bergwijn needs to go a couple of windows now, actually. And to be honest with you, I think maybe people at the time when I said that was thinking I was harsh, but I just feel like his stats didn't show me that he had a future at Spurs. And I think we're realizing that now. And I think it's good that he will go now, because we don't want it to be a Dele Alli situation or a Wink situation where they kind of stay here for many transfer windows and don't get moved on. I think it's time to cash in while we can and wish him all the best. Carl Simpson, big up, mate. He says Stevie B is great, but simply doesn't get enough time to cash in and use the money elsewhere. Absolutely agree, mate. Lil K saying okay. No loss, offers little. Does Bergwijn? Tempest thinks it's the right time to move on, and Kulu is the standard we should be judging. Look what he's done since he's come in, and what a goal, by the way, he scored last night. If you haven't seen it, you haven't seen it, guys, get over to our
On
TikTok.
his weak foot as well, James. On his weak foot, and people were saying, "Oh, we were worried he's left-footed," but the way he feinted that body, dropped it on his right foot,
Yeah.
and then calmly put it in. Unbelievable. This guy is special, and he's only going to improve. So time to get excited.
Absolutely, Jack. And I think that's perfect time to maybe move on to the next topic on this video now. Maybe you want to kick things off.
Sure. So I think it's time to talk about the news that everyone wants to bring in the player. We're screaming to put the money on the table, and hopefully we can convince him. And the man that is Alessandro Bastoni. So we've had a lot of reports coming out today. The latest one being Glongari, about a tier 2 source. So we usually only do tier 1 to tier 2, but this is more positive. It's saying we're pushing really hard in recent days to sign Bastoni. However, he's not overly keen to join Tottenham. Well, I say that. He's not keen to leave Inter Milan. We all know he's got Inter Milan tattoos. Yes. So it's not that he's not keen to join Tottenham. It's more that he's struggling. Well, let's not forget he's got family in Inter Milan. He's been brought up there. This is the team that gave him the opportunity. And he loves Inter Milan. They've obviously won the Serie A last season. They've come second this season, I think 1 point off in AC Milan. So as a player, you're going to appreciate what Inter Milan are giving you. So it's more that he's struggling to leave Inter. However, Tottenham are pushing hard. They're showing that Bastoni, we really want him, and Spurs are in direct contacts with his agents. But the overall feeling right now is that it could go down to the last couple of weeks. Bastoni's happy at Inter, but Tottenham are not giving up on their number one man, as being reported by Alistair Gold, saying, "This is the man we want. This is the man who fits into Conte's system. This is the game changer." So we've just got to push on and hope Paratici and Conte can convince Bastoni to join Spurs. So yeah, that's been the reports today.
Amazing. Yeah, I think it's a case where maybe I agree. I don't think it was tier 1 sources, but a lot of things out there on social media would say like kind of the personal terms have been agreed, and it was a case of convincing him. I still do think it's a case of convincing this guy, like you said, he's Inter Milan through and through. The tattoo showed for that. And the thing is, like, it is going to be hard to convince him, but he's got Champions League football at Inter Milan, but he's going to have Champions League football with pretty much certainly a better manager, a better prospect, amazing training ground, best stadium in the world. A great group of players that are really striving to win trophies. Like Lloris, Kane, Son. They don't want to end their Spurs tenure with no trophies. There's a big project at Spurs going on. It's the most excited I've been as a Spurs fan for a long, long time, and we've got the backing now from the board that we hadn't had before. 150 million promised this summer. He would be probably around half of that, but he would be involved in an incredible project that would see us really challenge for maybe titles and trophies. And I think that should be enough convincing. But if you're Inter Milan through and through, maybe that is a little bit difficult and easier said than done. But Jack, I think you've kind of summarized that well. Do you still think we can sign him?
I think it's a possibility. Like I say, I really do think this is going to be one that we're going to have to hold out for. We can't, think about it this way. If you've grown up with a club for 5 years, they put in all their trust in you. You've just won the Serie A last season. You're playing with world-class players like Skriniar, like De Vrij, like Lautaro Martinez. Rumours that Dybala, Gaetan Bremer might be joining them. Let's not forget, this is a great club. Inter Milan is a massive club. And Tottenham recently have just got into the Champions League. And we're becoming this force. We're starting to build. But why should you give that, if you're looking at it from their point of view, why should I give all of that up for something that is a new league, not a new manager, but a new adventure? So it's hard to give it up. But of course, Alessandro Bastoni, Tottenham are an exciting prospect. I would say he would not be entertaining it with his agents. He would not be looking into the possibility if he didn't care about joining Tottenham. I would still say this is one that's on the fence. There's a chance, but I would say let's not put all our eggs in one basket. Let's look at alternative options. But still, if Bastoni is one that we still feel there's a good chance we can bring him in, let's do it. But I think it's one that's going to run down to the very last couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. I think this one could go all the way, as far as August. And Jack, like you just said there, let's not put our eggs in one basket. Let's look at other options. Well, what better time to do so, Jack, than have a look at the other options that could potentially come in for Spurs. And I know you've done a little bit of alternative target research, and yeah, maybe let's get into this one, Jack.
I have. Let's do it. So the alternative options, we've spoke about this guy over the last couple of streams, is Gvardiol. He's the other main player, really. Bastoni and Gvardiol are your tier one, your best players that we could bring in. These are proper serious players that everyone across Europe really appreciates. So you've got Gvardiol, Pau Torres from Villarreal, who's obviously had a stellar season, making the semi-finals of the Champions League. Spurs had agreed a deal with him last summer, but then he wanted to stay and play Champions League football, but now looks like he could be moving on. You've got Geisen Bremer. He mainly plays centrally from Torino. He's also won Serie A Player of the Season, very aggressive, looks to be a fantastic player, but he's also quite new, so it could be a bit of a risk. He would command about £40 million, so not cheap either, but also would be a fantastic option. You've got Clement Lenglet, left centre-back from Barcelona, who is also used to be a fantastic player, but he's kind of fallen out of favour at Barcelona. I feel like this is one that could definitely happen. A lot of tier one sources saying Spurs are working on this deal. However, I feel this is kind of Spurs' way of, if we can't get our tier one options like Gvardiol, like Bastoni, maybe even Pau Torres, this is one we'll look later on to do. But I don't think it's a terrible option personally. He's very comfortable on the ball, not a bad player at all. And then the other one would be a young English centre-half from Crystal Palace, who I said I would take from Crystal Palace in the stream the other day, would be Mark Guehi. I think that's how I pronounce his name. Who I personally would like at Spurs, but he's not a proven player. And right now I think Conte demands a proven great player. So these are the alternative options. James, I'm not sure if you know too much about these, but out of that list, who do you think would be the main one you'd like to see in a Spurs shirt?
Like you said, really well summarised there, Jack. I mean, Mark Guehi is a player from Palace that has really progressed in this season under Patrick Vieira. One of their players of the season, really transformed that back line. And I think he would be amazing. Obviously, played alongside Mark Guehi, played alongside, remind me, the guy that was at Fulham. I've had a complete mind blank.
Joachim Andersen, is that the one that you're thinking of?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, like, they formed a bit of a partnership last season that was very good. Palace were a hard team to break down at times. Got Lil K in here asking for Bremer. Bremer, obviously, the Brazilian player from Torino. He's a big player, a bulky player, strong. Would he go in left centre-back? I'm not too sure. I feel like he's more of a centre-back. But, I mean, listen, I could be wrong on that front. But from what I've seen, he doesn't seem as a left centre-back, a ball-playing left centre-back that Conte would want to kind of pull the strings and play in the left wing-back. You know, I do see, out of all the ones you said, I think Pau Torres, left-footed player, really fitted well in Villarreal. Really, really good ball-playing centre-back. I think he would fit Conte's system perfectly, especially as a left centre-back, almost as an upgrade to Ben Davies. And I think a few of the ones you said, like Lenglet, I can't see him being a left centre-back. I think, again, he's more of a centre-back. I believe he's right-footed. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think he's left. I could be wrong as well. Okay. But I think he's left-footed. And like you say, he could play centrally because he's quite comfortable on the ball. But obviously, being brought into Barcelona and playing under Xavi, that's a necessity. You need to be able to be calm on the ball. So I feel like he could play left centre-back. But he's also one for me that we should look to do if we can't get our first options in, because he's kind of maybe not past it, but he's kind of fallen out of favour. And we want young, up and coming, good players that are really ready to change the system. He might be older and he might not have the hunger and desire to succeed.
I've never rated that Lenglet. I've never rated him. When I've seen him for Barcelona, I'm sat there thinking, like, he's not even Barcelona standards. And if he's not Barcelona standards, he's not our standards. Let's be honest, Barcelona have really fallen off in recent years. They're not the team they used to be in sort of the mid-2010s and even the 2000s. Like, they're just not what they were. And I mean, the fact they've still got Gerard Piqué at the back says all you need to know about their defence. Gerard Piqué, obviously an absolutely formidable centre-back back in his day, but he's getting on for, like, what, 35 years of age now, maybe even more. Like, he's just not a player that strikes me as, like, I feel like Barcelona need a complete refresh, and they don't seem like they're, without going on a Barcelona rant, like, they're getting in Marcos Alonso, Azpilicueta, and someone else from Chelsea. And
a weird one. Barcelona have been linked to every single player in this transfer window. Honestly, every time I see Fabrizio Romano tweet, honestly, I think they're going to sign the whole world.
But they're signing finished. This is what I'm saying. They're signing like finished centre backs, like finished Spanish players, like Azpilicueta, Marcos Alonso. I can't remember who the other Chelsea player is. Someone will probably be able to tell me in the chat. But like, they're all players that have passed their best. Like, they're past their sell-by date. They're on the reduced to clear.
They obviously bought Aubameyang as well last year. He was falling out of favour at Arsenal.
Reduced to clear because he's on a free. Lil K saying, sorry, I thought you said centre back. No, we are talking centre backs. Don't you worry, Lil K. Ball saying, I've seen rumours about CDM from a London rival, but no name. Who could it be? Jack, any idea? I don't think I'm sure.
To be fair, I haven't actually seen this one, Leo Ball, so I can't comment too much on this. But I'd like to know if anyone else has any updates they can give us in the chat. That'd be great.
Exactly. Mark Benatia, I hope I've pronounced that right. If not, I'm very sorry. But he says, my mum in a Spurs shirt, she chased many muggers away with a rolling pin when we were kids. Growing up in Tottenham. Hashtag trust the process. Absolutely love it, Mark. And it's always good to see a fresh face in these streams. Big up yourself, mate. Have a great Jubilee weekend. Dan Coys, it's been a little while. How you doing, mate? Lovely to see you. And saying afternoon Spurs related. But Jack, maybe let's flip the question on you. I mean, I would have said no to Lenglet. I would probably say Guehi would be a good addition. Pau Torres, I think, is my premium one if we don't get Bastoni. Bastoni's still my number one. However, I'm not too sure on this Gvardiol. I haven't seen enough about him. I haven't seen... Like, the thing with me, right? Sorry, my mic just went in my mouth then. Can you still hear me?
Yes, you're right, mate.
The thing with Leipzig defenders is you've got like Upamecano, who obviously went to Bayern Munich. I don't rate that guy. I think he's very overrated. You've also got obviously Liverpool got the best one out of them, I think.
Konate.
But I'm not sure about this Gvardiol. Like, I've seen a lot of Leipzig and German centre backs that go to other leagues and don't really perform that well. I mean, Upamecano hasn't been amazing for Bayern Munich. Correct me if I'm wrong. From what I saw in the Champions League last season, I believe against Man United, he got absolutely rinsed by I think it was Rashford.
The only argument I'd have is to be starting week in, week out for Bayern Munich, you must be showing something. I still think Upamecano's a good player. Obviously, you had the whole of Europe wanting him at the time. Gvardiol, I think he's a bit different to Upamecano. Yes, he's aggressive. Yes, he's strong, but he's also good on the ball. He's ruthless, and I would like to see him in a Spurs shirt. I might have seen a bit more of him than you, James. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I honestly think he'd be a great player. There's no... we're talking about Chelsea, Man City, some of the best teams in Europe.
Who do you think would be a great player, Gvardiol?
I do. I really do. I think Bastoni should be the number one target, but Gvardiol was 20 years old. He's absolutely smashed it in the Bundesliga this season. So I think he's a serious player and would be my second option just behind Bastoni. A lot of Spurs fans and journalists are saying they would even prefer Gvardiol to Bastoni just because he's younger, he's strong. So we're talking about a proper player here. But I can understand your reasoning, James, seeing the past centre-backs that maybe haven't done as well as you thought they might have done.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's fair enough, Jack. It's fair enough. It's interesting he's your number two, though. It really is. I'm sure a lot of people agree with you. Listen, I'm not saying it's out their opinion. I just think Pau Torres, I've seen maybe more of him, so maybe that's why I'm saying this. And I think left-footed centre-back. Is Gvardiol left-footed?
Gvardiol is left-footed, yes.
Okay, so maybe could fit in.
I like Dan's question as well, Dan. Great question. In the our concluding thoughts will be about positions where do you think we need to strengthen most this season? So stay tuned for that. I think we've got an interesting debate coming up in the latter part of the stream. So yes, love to see you in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely, Jack. And maybe time to move on from the alternative targets chat now and maybe go into that. But before I do so, I think we've gained a few subscribers this episode. So if you have subscribed this episode, do let us know. It's always good to see new faces and interact with you guys. Spurs Related is a community where we like to engage with the Spurs Relatables, as we call you. So please do put a comment in the chat, even if it's to say hello. Like Lil K's loving the comments today. We've got obviously Dan in the chat. We've got a few others like Leo and Tempest and people even from Facebook that I haven't seen before, like Mark. So please do, say hello in the chat, guys. We do like to build up this community. And if you haven't done so already, please do smash a like button on the video. It takes literally 2 seconds to scroll down, smash a like. If you're on Facebook, smash the blue button, the like button. And it really does help us beat the algorithms and really gain towards that 1,000 mile that Jack was talking about earlier, which we would love to hit this transfer window. Like I said, Jack, it's all over to you, mate, for this final topic.
Right, so I think we can kind of merge the final two topics. I was going to quickly brief over Christian Eriksen. Sky Sports the other day reported that Brentford have offered the Dane a long-term contract that I'm sure will be lucrative, but he's also mentioned that he's keen to play Champions League football once again, has been intrigued by Antonio Conte's comments about potentially reuniting with the player. So this is very interesting. I think a lot of people are very keen to see Eriksen back at Spurs this summer. Me personally, I think he'd be a great addition. He's got world-class ability. He's so creative. We're kind of screaming out for that creative player. He always looks like he's got more time on the ball than he actually does. His passing is phenomenal. He finds pockets of space. And don't forget, his scoring output and assist output has always been fantastic for Spurs. I think he's got one of the second highest assists in the past 10 years over the Premier League. He was consistently getting over 10 goals a season, which is massive. We're kind of crying out for a midfielder that chips in with the goals. Like Højbjerg and Bentancur, been fantastic, but you don't really see him getting on the score sheet. I don't even think Bentancur has got his debut goal for Spurs yet. So bringing in someone like that who has that quality and can get a goal when it's needed most is someone we should look to bring in. And on a free, for me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, I think Højbjerg got 2 this season, and like you said, Bentancur hasn't got one yet. But I just feel like with Eriksen, I'm kind of on the fence about Eriksen. Listen, I do understand what you're saying. He's a world-class player. He still has the world-class ability. Obviously, what he had for Spurs was incredible. He's almost like a borderline legend for Spurs in terms of his commitment and his assists and his goals. Like when he came in, I think it was 2013 after the Bale money, he got the most assists out of any player in the Premier League. That was beating Mesut Ozil since he came in. And obviously his goal contributions for Spurs was incredible. Like we're talking double figures every season. But I don't know. For me, obviously 11 games for Brentford this season, 1 goal, 4 assists. Obviously the goal at Stamford Bridge, which was lovely to see. But 5 goal contributions in 11 games in Brentford's really good. The problem I have with Eriksen is this, and hear me out, guys. You guys might think I'm on my own on this opinion. Would I take him on a free if he wasn't demanding ridiculous wages? Probably. But there's 2 things here. One is the formation. Where is he going to fit in? And I maybe ask you that in a minute, Jack. But the second thing is, let's not forget his final 6 months at Spurs, 6 to 9 months. He did not want to be playing for us. He was walking around the pitch. He was jogging around the pitch. I was at some of the games where he was there and he just didn't look interested. His attitude was wrong and his whole kind of Spurs passion was out the window. Now, I'm not saying if he came back in, he will lose that from previous. I think he will come back in and contribute. But for me, that hurts me as a Spurs fan. If you're wearing the Spurs badge, you're wearing the Spurs shirt, you put 100% in every game. Just because you've thrown your toys out the pram that you couldn't get to move that window doesn't mean you come and play for the last 6 months like you don't want to be there. And that is what annoyed me about Christian Eriksen. And not enough people talk about that. Of course, what happened to him was absolutely awful. And I'm so glad the guy, is still alive and fit and healthy and got fitted with his pacemaker now, and hopefully you draw a line on that. But let's not forget, before everything like that happened, what he did to contribute to Spurs in the final 6 months was borderline disgrace. He didn't want to be there under Poch. He wasn't playing. He'd clearly fallen out with the rest of maybe not rest of the team, but some players in the dressing room. It wasn't there. He didn't get his move to Inter. And then when he did, he suddenly had all this smile on his face that he got to Inter Milan. And of course, I was happy to see him win a trophy at Inter Milan. I think he won 2, didn't he? I think he won the Cup and the League. But I just think Spurs fans had to remember that if we're getting Eriksen back, what he did in those last 6 to 9 months wasn't acceptable because he lost his head completely. And I don't know if you agree, Jack.
I totally see what you're saying, James, and that did really annoy me as well. Being a player that we all loved, we all appreciated, but I did feel he didn't get that move to Real Madrid the season before that he probably wanted when we were being offered fees around 80 to 100 million, and I felt like he felt it was time. He had to move on for his own career, and I felt at that time that he was better than us and he did deserve that opportunity, and we kind of didn't give it to him. I think he spoke openly about him wanting to move on, and he didn't get that move away. Eventually, he got his move to Inter Milan, and he got quoted the fee for 20 million, and they ended up stumping up the cash, and he moved on. But I do feel like it's probably I'd bring him back. I just would bring him back, just because I feel it's not where he fits in. For me, it's a lot to gain, little to lose for Eriksen, and I feel, being a team that are in the Champions League next season, being in the Premier League, being in all the competitions, we need that squad depth. So I feel just bring him in. He's got that quality to bring off the bench, start games in a 3-5-2, playing that number 10. I just feel, like I said, I'm going to say it again, little to lose, a lot to gain on a free transfer, probably commanding about £100,000 a week. I don't think we can go much wrong. Don't give him a crazy contract, maybe a 2-year contract, and let's see what he can deliver.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, Toxic Headshot saying, leave you pissed Eriksen off, but I get you guys both ways. Yeah, a lot of it was to do with Eriksen, maybe not the other players. So, I don't know, let's just see. I don't see it happening, but...
No, I totally know what you mean, because he did kind of leave in a bit of a toxic spot. But you've got to remember, it was bad. But Spurs had just lost in the Champions League final. Those players gave everything for Spurs, and they felt like this was a sliding doors moment. We're either going to succeed or it's going to be the end of the cycle. And as we saw, we brought in players and it didn't work out. So it kind of fell to a natural end. And Eriksen didn't get his move away. It was kind of in a Spurs dressing room that was kind of rotting. So we felt like he wanted to get out of that. He didn't get his wish. He then eventually kind of moved to a maybe not a tier A side, a tier B side in Inter Milan, and then did brilliantly there. Had the problems, obviously in the Euros, having to have a pacemaker. But now I feel he could come back and he could be a great player. We've seen what he's delivered this season at Brentford, and I seriously believe that he would do a good job at Spurs. Maybe not amazing, maybe not the Eriksen we've seen in the past, but on a 2-year contract, on a 1-year contract, I really don't think there's much to lose.
Okay, fair enough.
Who are the alternatives? What I'd argue is, who are the alternatives? Who could we bring in for little money who possesses that quality, that creative spark? Could you name me one? Could you name me one? For, like, we're talking, James Ward-Prowse is a creative player for £65 million, and he's probably not even as good as Eriksen, some would argue.
He's not.
I can't think.
65 million.
But this is the fee they're quoting. This is what I mean. So who is that? Yes, I know. So who has got that quality that Eriksen possesses for a similar fee or a price that we're not talking crazy money? I'd say no one. And that's the reason why I'd bring him in.
Okay, then. Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's see what happens with Eriksen, and let's keep an eye on it and bring you all the Eriksen news in future episodes, if anything revolutionizes. Now, listen, Jack, I know this was your idea for the last part of the episode today. I'm going to pop the question on the screen, and you're going to explain what we want to see maybe from the chat, because I know it's kind of an interactive question, as well as us kind of putting out our points.
Exactly. Like, I've been loving these last couple of videos, getting everyone in the comments, putting down in the comments who you'd like to see at Spurs next season and where are the key areas we need to improve. I'm going to start this off, and I'm going to say, I think as good as Bentancur and Højbjerg have been this season, I seriously believe we need one creative and one defensive midfielder that we can seriously push on next season, because these are key players in Conte's system, and we need players like maybe Basuma is a player who I rate highly, someone with that creative spark who can play next to him, potentially Eriksen, or a ball playing midfielder like maybe what's his name, Neves from Wolves, someone who they can work together and play. And I think this is a position that needs strengthening. That would where I'd start. Maybe left centre back. Obviously, I want Bastoni, but if we're talking 2 players that we seriously need for squad depth, I'd say centre midfielders. What about you, James?
Yeah, I would probably agree. I think, to be honest with you, I think actually wing back is more important. However, technically we've addressed that with Perisic already, but I still think we're lacking one wing back. And the reason being, I don't think Reguilón is going to stay. I think he's going to go. There's not been a lot of talk about that, but I think stuff will come out soon. I just feel like he was not available at the end of the season, and apparently it was an injury, but I just don't think it was. I think there was something more to it. Obviously, Ryan Sessegnon was quite injury prone. Matt Doherty, not really injury prone, but I just think we need a bit of quality at maybe right wing back as well. Obviously, Perisic can he'll probably be playing left wing back, won't he, Perisic? But then you've got to think, well, right wing back, Matt Doherty and Emerson. If one of them gets injured, then we rely on Emerson. Say it's Emerson, people aren't convinced. I just think we need a right wing back still. I still think we need a left centre back, like you said, Jack. I think that's very important. I think Ben Davies done a great job filling in. However, I think we can't rely on someone that was basically paper over the cracks and basically was a temporary option. And I think I agree, centre mid. I think we need one more physical player to replace Harry Winks, who will go. I think Basuma is a great example, like you said, that would be brilliant. I would have liked Kessié from AC Milan, but I believe he's gone to Barcelona now, so that's a shame. Weston McKennie, maybe it could be another.
I actually really like Weston McKennie. I think that's a great shout. He's a player that has energy. He runs his socks off. He has
He's fitting
quality
well.
on the ball. He makes late runs into the box. He chips into goals. I think he'd be
Box to
fantastic. I
box.
think exactly. I think Paratici is a massive fan of him. I think Conte would admire his work rate. He'd come from Juventus with Bentancur, so they could combat
Knows
each
them.
other well.
And
They'd be
Kulusevski knows.
pushing each other. Exactly. I think he's a great player. That would add. Maybe he's not a world-class player and would change it unbelievably. But like you say, squad depth is so important. We're not looking for a first 11 that can compete all over. It's a squad. I know you're keen to say something, James.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I don't think we're going to attract too many world-class players. I think even Bastoni's not world-class yet. He's got the potential to be world-class like Romero. I think, without going off on a tangent, I think world-class is thrown around way too often. I think the only 3 players we have that are world-class in our team at the moment is Kane, Son, and Lloris. I don't believe that we have any other world-class players. We have a lot of players that could be world-class.
Or close in that bracket, like Irish Hotspur says, ahead of the curve, Romero, a player that is soon to be no doubt world class. But come on, let's give him a bit more time to show his ability.
Yeah, but guys, let us know who you would want. Leo Ball's going, I would want Lingard. That's a real out of the box one there. I'm not sure about this one. What do you think, Jack?
He's a player that I don't mind. I don't mind him, but I think. I know we're saying we can't attract world-class players, but I do think we can go that just threshold above than Lingard. I think let's leave him to the Hammers. I don't think he's a player that we should be bringing in.
Okay. Toxic Headshot saying left-sided defender, 2 midfielders, striker, left and right wing back. So left-sided defender looks like Toxic Headshot's first choice, then 2 midfielders, strike.
The truth is, to be a serious side next season, we need to bring in a lot of players. The reason we've been given this investment is because Conte and Paratici know we are still far away from being able to compete with the top sides. Look, we need probably another left wing back, right wing back, left centre back, 2 centre mids, and a world-class forward that can compete with these players. We're talking we need 5 or 6 good, very good players. So let's be honest, guys, as exciting as this is, we need to get it done. It's all good having these rumours, but we need to get it over the line.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Dan, a couple more comments. Dan saying, I think we lack our midfield. I can't even talk. I think our lack of midfield prevented us from moving to a 3-5-2 when teams just stuck an extra man in midfield to outnumber us. Exactly, when we played that Wolves game, it didn't work. When we whacked Harry Winks in midfield, it was like playing a one-man midfield. I think it was him and Bentancur because Højbjerg got dropped. It didn't work. It was awful. We got overrun by Ruben Neves, like you said, Jack, and there was a couple of other players.
João Moutinho, I think they had a small guy in the middle. I can't remember his name. He played quite well. But
no, he's the one that scored. Wasn't it Dendoncker?
Dendoncker, yeah, you're right. That's the one. There was a small guy as well in the midfield. He's really small because he was smaller than Podence.
Young player, wasn't it?
Young player, English. I'm sure someone will tell me.
Yeah, I remember. I just want to say like Roberts or something like that. Zach Birkin, Zach Birkin, haven't seen you before, mate. Thanks for potentially subbing. Absolutely love it, mate. Says, I personally think we need to bring in a young playmaker, but Jack is right. There isn't anyone that has been a standout player for us to contemplate getting. And this is why Jack put me on the spot there. Like, I'm saying I didn't want Eriksen, but actually thinking about it further, you're looking at a very expensive replacement. If you're not going for an Eriksen, you're looking for players outside the box, maybe a Lautaro Martinez that can create for Kane and Son. But we're looking like £70 million for him, probably, aren't we, Jack? So that's going to be.
This is what I'm saying. And Lautaro Martinez isn't that centre midfielder. He kind of plays off the wing or as a striker. I would happily spend a lot of money on a creative midfielder. But how many are there? And the ones you're looking at are massive risks and not guaranteed to get the output. Eriksen's going to give you output for less risk. And I think that's the only reason why I'd bring him back. I would avoid it personally if there was options that we could go in and get, but there's not many without that high price tag and risk. So, like you say, Zach, I think we should bring him in.
Yeah, fair enough. Leo's saying, what do you think about Mitrovic to back up Kane? I'll take this one. I think Mitrovic has been superb. Championship player. I think he scored 41 championship goals in 42 appearances last season. Incredible stat.
It's ridiculous.
However, one thing, that's the championship, and 2 things, he doesn't seem to get as many goals in the Premier League, and the other thing is Fulham are 100% keeping him, right? He was pretty much the main reason why they went up last season, along with Fabio Carvalho and maybe Nico Williams and a couple of other really good players that Fulham have. I don't think he's going to get moved on from Fulham. I think he really enjoys it there. And I can't see him wanting to sit on a bench rather than trying to contribute to a team to try and stay in the Premier League. What do you think, Jack?
I think Mitrovic is a very good player, especially at championship level. He's got that fantastic output. He scores goals. He's a threat. He's strong. He holds up his man well. But he hasn't done it quite in the Premier League this last couple of seasons. I think, for me, we should bring in a player of a much higher calibre. We've had the days where we brought in a second-string striker, but they haven't been able to push Kane. I feel we should be looking at maybe a player that is good on the wing and can play centrally. So we're talking like maybe Jesus, Richarlison I was talking about, someone who has that quality. So I wouldn't look at a second string striker. I'd be looking at bringing in a world-class player who's versatile. But that's me.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, Lawrence Powell saying we need a Blanchflower and Mackay, players from, further back than me and Jack can remember. But listen, they were brilliant players and a real part of Spurs history. And maybe you're right, Lawrence. Maybe there is a player out there that plays similar to them. But it's very interesting stuff. Guys, that is all we have time for today. We've had a number of different talking points and a number of different comments from the chat. Great talking points. Thanks to all that joined. I'm going to read out a few just now. Dan, thanks for joining. Toxic Headshot. Zach, Leo Ball, as always. Little K, Bobby K, Mark, Tempus, Iron Army. There was more out of the chat, but it's not loading. But absolutely brilliant to see all the comments, all the support, guys. Remember, before you leave, please do smash the thumbs up button for more. Thanks to all the subscribers. I think we've gained 3 or 4 subscribers this episode, which is absolutely fantastic as we continue on our journey to 1,000 subscribers. Little Cases, have a nice day. Hope you guys actually all have a lovely bank holiday weekend, a long weekend. We're off from Thursday to Sunday, but you guys may have work. But whatever you do, enjoy it. Jack, thanks for joining me, mate. I know you've got a little Mamma Mia show. I'm going to put that out there. SpursRelated. Enjoy Mamma Mia, mate.
Mamma Mia with the family. Thanks for having me on. Well, I guess I'm part of the team now. It's been a great stream. Love to see everyone in the chat. I think we've had a lot to talk about. I think it's been an interactive stream, and it's only going to keep getting better. So I want everyone to let's get a massive push to 800 subscribers. We want to make this a commercialized channel so we can bring you the best content and keep on improving as a team. So let's get that push. Let's get these subscriber count up and keep improving as a team. So yeah, I'm loving it. Let's keep it going.
Absolutely love it, guys. And I'll say it once more. Have a great bank holiday weekend. Smash the thumbs up and subscribe if you're watching there and you're not subscribed. And remember, guys, as always, come on, you Spurs!
Come on, you Spurs!